And cutting straight across to Shravan Sen, my colleague, who's joining us with the massive news of a massive development in the TRP case. The ED has filed an FIR in the case, and these are top sources telling us about this. Shravan, over to you. What are the latest updates that you have with you?
Well, in fact, this is the latest now coming in from the Enforcement Directorate, Sagarika, that in the TRP matter, and a clarification here is very important, that this FIR that has been registered is on the request of the Mumbai police, that the Enforcement Directorate has now filed an ECIR, an equivalent of an FIR, in the Mumbai unit of the Enforcement Directorate. They have taken cognizance of the original FIR that was registered by the Mumbai police in the TRP matter that has now been taken over by the Enforcement Directorate. As far as those who have been named as an accused in the ECIR, those channels which have been named in the original FIR of the Mumbai police have also been named in the ECIR that has been registered by the Enforcement Directorate. So what really happens right now, Sagarika, in the days to come, all channels will be named in the FIR would also be called in for questioning by the Enforcement Directorate. And secondly, also the investigation that has been carried out by the Mumbai police would also come under the scanner, given the fact that the Mumbai police have already leveled some serious allegations with regards to Hawala transactions, and all of this now comes under the ambit of the Enforcement Directorate. The Enforcement Directorate has completely taken over the TRP case as far as under the PMLA sections are concerned. So they are essentially going to look into whether at all there has been any money laundering as alleged by the Mumbai police. That is something that is going to be probed by the Mumbai police to begin with, by the Enforcement Director, I beg your pardon. And secondly, all those who have basically been those who have been named as a witness or an accused by the Mumbai police will also be examined by the Enforcement Directorate as the investigation progresses in the days to come.
All right, Shravan, stay with us. Let's once again tell our viewers about the 5 or 6 big takeaways from this massive development coming in the TRP case. Number one, an FIR. As per top sources in the Enforcement Directorate, the agency has filed an FIR in the TRP case. Now, what we're also hearing, Shravan, and this is one of the biggest takeaways that you're getting for us, is the fact that all the channels named in the original FIR, the FIR on the basis of which that press conference was held on the 8th, in which Republic TV wasn't named, and one channel was named, which was conveniently skipped by the top cop. Now, you tell us, Shravan, about what are the other developments that we're expecting, because it has registered, and all the channels that have been named in the original FIR will be probed by the Enforcement Directorate. And how soon can we expect action? How soon can we expect the ED to take over the investigation?
Well, Sagarika, the case has already been registered. The case was registered earlier in the day, is what I'm being told by my sources within the Enforcement Directorate. And secondly, as far as how soon can we really expect any sort of development in this case, as far as my knowledge goes in this particular matter, I'm given to understand that perhaps you would see some sort of an action as early as Monday or Tuesday, because remember, this case has generated a lot of interest, given the fact that Mumbai police has now been claiming that they've got a lot of evidence in this matter, and they have also made some serious allegations with regards to how Hawala transactions have actually taken place. So this comes under the ambit of the Enforcement Directorate, and that is the reason why, on the request of the Mumbai police itself, the Enforcement Directorate has now registered an ECIR in this case. So all those who have been named in the original FIR that was registered by the Mumbai police have also been shown as an accused in the case that has been registered by the Enforcement Directorate, which would essentially mean channels which have been named by Mumbai police in their original FIR and not really the names that have been mentioned in the press conference that was actually taken by the Mumbai Police Commissioner. It is those who have been named in the FIR.
Yes.
Their names have also been reflected in the ECIR that has now been registered by the Enforcement Directorate to begin with. And secondly, with respect to the fact that who else will be called in for questioning as the investigation continues, remember, almost all channels who have basically come under the scanner, almost all channels will now be called in for questioning for a free and fair investigation to take place. We are given to understand almost every channel will now be called in for questioning by the Enforcement Directorate in Mumbai.
Right. So, Shravan, as of now, these are two central agencies. And Shravan, stay with us. Abhishek is also joining me on the phone line. Abhishek, this is a huge development when it comes to the TRP case. We've seen how there has been massive public interest in the way in which the Mumbai police has investigated the case so far. We know what happened in that press conference that was in fact conducted, a nationally televised press conference which was conducted by the Mumbai Police Commissioner, in which he went ahead and named Republic TV despite Republic's name not being there in the FIR. And today the ED has filed an FIR, and it will probe, or it will summon all the channels and their representatives who were named in the original FIR. How are you looking at this development, Abhishek?
Well, this is a very significant development, Sagarika, and the viewers, for the benefit of viewers, let me explain what has happened. Mumbai police was carrying out an investigation in the alleged TRP scam based on a complaint, which was based on an internal report, which did not name Republic TV at least. There were some channels named. Now, it so happened that within 20 or 48 hours of the FIR being filed, Mumbai police came to a conclusion that the channels named are not the culprit, but other channels are, including Republic. Now, subsequently, there was another FIR in Uttar Pradesh made by someone about fixing of ratings, which was transferred by the UP police to the CBI. Now, this led to some jurisdiction issues, because the Mumbai police was investigating something in Mumbai, and the CBI is investigating a case which is registered in UP but has ramifications from across the country. Now, the Enforcement Directorate, looking at the PMLA, which is the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, has filed a ECIR, which is the FIR version of Enforcement Directorate, and they have said that this would be based on the original FIR, which is the predicate offence in this case with the Mumbai police. Now the issue arises, who would have jurisdiction? So that would be subsequently decided. But as of now, what is important is that apart from Mumbai police investigation, there is a CBI investigation, and now the Enforcement Director is also looking into it.
Absolutely. So, parallel investigations will go on in the case, and as Shravan continues to tell us, Shravan, what would be the realm of the ED's investigation now that it has filed an ECIR in the case? Because like Abhishek has been telling us, the Mumbai police is investigating the case, and we know what has been happening over the last few days. The CBI too took over after a complaint and an FIR was filed in the state of Uttar Pradesh. But with the ED stepping in, what will be the focus or the focal point of the investigation when it comes to this TRP case?
Let me also put this into perspective, because there are two cases that you are looking at this juncture. One that is being carried out by the Central Bureau of Investigation, and secondly, that is the Enforcement Directorate, which has just stepped in. But what is the difference between the investigation that is going to be carried out by the CBI and the Enforcement Directorate is that the CBI right now has a TRP case that has been registered on the basis of a complaint that has come in from Uttar Pradesh. But as far as the Enforcement Directorate is concerned, they are directly taking over the case that was registered by the Mumbai police. So it is the Mumbai police's original FIR that would be taken into consideration, which rather has already been taken into consideration, and the predicate offence has already been made out. And based on that, we are given to understand that the Enforcement Directorate has now registered an ECIR, which would essentially mean that all those who will be named in the original FIR of the Mumbai police have also been named as an accused in the ECIR that has been registered by the Enforcement Directorate. Now, what exactly would the Enforcement Directorate be looking into? What would be the ambit of the entire investigation? One, purely on the basis of the complaint that was given by Hansa, that would be taken into, that would be examined by the Enforcement Directorate. All the channels that have been named by Hansa will first be called in for questioning by the Enforcement Directorate. One would expect that some sort of a development may take place in the next, perhaps in 2 to 3 days, if I understand, that you would expect some movement actually taking place in the Mumbai unit of the Enforcement Directorate.
Yeah. All right. Shravan, you spoke about, because the FIR was based on on Hansa's complaint. We also know that Hansa approached the courts to say that there was some amount of coercion when it comes to the way the Mumbai police was actually investigating them and their employees, in which the court also came ahead and gave some, orders for the Mumbai police that they cannot probe Hansa employees for more than particular hours in a day. Now, when the ED has taken over, will that also be taken into consideration?
Well, Sagarika, as far as the Enforcement Directorate is concerned, of course, what they would be doing at this stage is asking the Mumbai police to also share the findings of their investigation, which would essentially mean all kinds of allegations that have been leveled by the Mumbai police at this point in time. And also remember the witnesses that they have been claiming, the witness statements that have been recorded by the Mumbai police. The Enforcement Directorate would certainly be making that preliminary attempt to at least get the findings of that investigation. It remains to be seen whether at all Mumbai police is really going to cooperate with the Enforcement Directorate and hand over their findings in this case. That is a matter of time that we would get to know as to how much would the Mumbai police would be cooperating in this entire matter. But if that actually does not happen, we would actually look at the Enforcement Directorate independently carrying out their entire investigation. Based on their findings, perhaps you would expect more people to be called in for questioning. And if at all they come across any witness in this particular in this case, they too will also be, their statements would be recorded. But one would certainly expect those who have been named as an accused, they would be called in for questioning. And secondly, the complainant in this entire matter, they would also be called in for questioning by the Enforcement Directorate.
All right. Abhishek also continues to stay with us as we break down the significance and the importance of this of this development in the TRP case. Abhishek, you spoke about how it could now become about jurisdiction because there are two central agencies. Sorry? Yes. All right, we'll try getting Abhishek back on the phone line as he breaks down the significance of this development. But Shravan continues to stay with us. And Shravan, once again, for viewers just joining us on this broadcast, it's 5:10. But this is the biggest development in the TRP case so far. Sources are saying that the ED is set to take over the case. And according to the information available with you, this could happen in the next 24 to 48 hours. And Mumbai will be the hub of all the action that can be expected in the next few days. And like you've been reiterating, the investigation is going to be based on the original FIR. Abhishek was talking about jurisdiction. Now, there are two central agencies involved in the investigation, Shravan. And you spoke about there could be a possibility of cooperation or non-cooperation by the Mumbai police because they so far have taken statements, have questioned people. In case by any chance, if there is supposed non-cooperation by the Mumbai police when it comes to this investigation, what is the ED planning to do?
Let me also clarify this jurisdiction issue that has been raised over a period of time, especially given the fact that the CBI has already registered a case in the TRP matter. Now, as far as CBI is concerned, yes, there is a jurisdiction limitation because remember, the act under which they are essentially governed requires a certain amount of sanctions or permissions to be given by the state. And as far as Maharashtra government is concerned, they've already withdrawn their general consent that has been given to the Central Bureau of Investigation. So that is the reason why perhaps the Central Bureau of Investigation at this stage cannot carry out their probe with regards to Maharashtra or 7 other states where the general consent has already been withdrawn. So their case essentially is still right now limited only to the complaint that has been filed in Uttar Pradesh and the case that was recommended by the Uttar Pradesh government. Based on that, the CBI has carried out their investigation. Now, coming to the Enforcement Directorate, that limitation the Enforcement Directorate does not have. Their jurisdiction, there is no jurisdiction issue. All that the Enforcement Directorate essentially requires at this point in time is a predicate offence, and a predicate offence has already been cut out in this matter because the Mumbai police has registered an FIR.
Okay, so the Mumbai police's allegations could now be under the Enforcement Directorate scrutiny. Sources are also telling us that the Mumbai police's probe will also be now scrutinized by the Enforcement Directorate, which is the second central agency to take over the probe in 48 hours from now. In 48 hours from now, we are expecting some sort of action to take place. All named in the original FIR are now under the ED probe. So 5 or 6 key takeaways from this development. One, like Shravan has been telling us, is that the ED has filed an FIR in the TRP case, which is a big development. The ED will summon all the channels named, and in 24 to 48 hours,